Why is it that after the age of 50, some people live increasingly peaceful lives with harmonious family relationships and stable health, while others face many uncertainties in their physical and mental well-being and relationships? This is not a coincidence. It is the result of the merits and karma sown throughout their lives. Watch the entire video to contemplate the profound teachings on cause and effect and find ways to transform your destiny starting today. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. 50 is not just a milestone in time, but also the culmination of our choices. While youthful years may be based on health and opportunity, as we enter middle age, the law of cause and effect becomes increasingly clear. Those who live virtuously, keep their word, and treat their family and society with sincerity accumulate lasting blessings. These blessings aren't immediately apparent, but over time they form the foundation for lasting peace and security. Conversely, if in the past we lived impulsively, competitively, and hurt others, those seeds will silently sprout. At some point, they will become family conflicts, loneliness, or anxieties that are difficult to name. Not everyone recognizes this connection, but when we look deeply back, we will see that everything has a root cause. After the age of 50, the most precious thing is no longer fame or fortune, but inner peace. People with a clear mind usually sleep well, eat well, and speak and laugh gently. They are not burdened by excessive attachments or cling to the past. This timely letting go helps them maintain good health and harmonious relationships with their children and grandchildren. Meanwhile, those who harbor resentment and regret often exhaust themselves. A restless mind makes for poor health. When words lack tolerance, distance easily arises within families. All of this stems from the seeds we sow in the past. The good news is that karma isn't just for judgment. It also opens up opportunities for transformation, no matter how old you are today, simply by starting to slow down. Think more kindly and speak more gently. You're sowing new seeds for the future. Good fortune doesn't come overnight, but every small action counts. Watch the entire video to reflect more deeply on the concepts of fortune and karma in life. Perhaps from today's reflections, you will find ways to adjust your life for greater peace and tranquility in the future. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments, because every sincere perspective can help others awaken and live better lives. 50 is the age when the fruits of many years of sowing begin to ripen. It's not just a milestone in time, but the moment when what we've chosen, thought, and done over the past decades gradually takes shape. When young, many believe they have plenty of opportunities to correct mistakes, plenty of years to change. But by 50, life begins to answer with concrete, clear, and undeniable results. Humanity is not something abstract or distant. It lies in every word we utter, every way we treat our loved ones, every decision we make about work and money. Every day we are sowing seeds in the soil of our lives. There are seeds of kindness, seeds of anger, seeds of tolerance, and seeds of selfishness. When we are young, we may not see a big difference. But as the years pass, those seeds silently take root and grow. By the age of 50, many people begin to clearly feel the difference between a life accumulated with blessings and a life filled with attachments. Those who live sincerely, keep their promises, and treat their families kindly tend to have more peaceful homes. Their children and grandchildren respect them, not out of fear, but out of genuine affection and respect. That is the sweet fruit of years of setting a good example and living responsibly. Conversely, if in the past we frequently prioritized competition, put our ego first, and neglected the feelings of our loved ones, then as we age, distance within the family is more likely to appear. Some people reach their 50s feeling lonely even in their own homes. They don't understand why their children share so little with them, or why the family atmosphere is so tense. But if we look deeper, we will see that every outcome has accumulated causes from the past. Health is like ripe fruit. In our younger years, we may stay up late, eat indiscriminately, and overwork ourselves without immediately feeling the consequences. But by the age of 50, the body begins to clearly reflect how we have treated it. Those who maintain a balanced lifestyle and care for their mental and physical well-being tend to have a more stable foundation, while those who neglect their health may face many problems. 50 is also a time to reflect on the journey we've taken. Many realize that true success isn't just about money or status. What brings them peace of mind are lasting relationships and inner tranquility. If we've spent years worrying, competing, and stressing, slowing down reveals how much energy we've wasted on things that weren't worthwhile. A ripe fruit is not just an external result, but also an internal state. Some people enter their 50s with calmness. They are no longer easily angered, no longer overly concerned about what others think. They understand that life has things they cannot control and learn to accept them. This maturity is the result of a process of trial and error and learning from experience. However, not everyone feels at peace at this stage. Some people only begin to regret things when they reach 50. They regret missed opportunities, hurtful words they said to loved ones, and years spent chasing fame and fortune while neglecting their families. This regret is also a form of ripening fruit, but it is the fruit of a lack of awareness in the past. It's important to realize that even though the fruit has begun to ripen, we can still continue to sow new seeds. 50 is not the end. It's a time when we understand the laws of life better. Once we see the connection between cause and effect, we can proactively adjust our behavior and thoughts. If we realize we used to be hot-tempered, we can learn to listen more. If we used to be indifferent to our family, we can dedicate time to caring for them and making amends. Transformation begins with awareness. When we accept that our present situation is the result of what we have sown, we will be less resentful of circumstances and others. Instead of complaining, we focus on improving ourselves each day. Every gentler word, every kinder action is a new seed for the years to come. 50 is also a time when we need to learn to let go of old resentments, unnecessary comparisons, and ambitions that are no longer relevant. If we continue to carry too much mental burden, we will find it difficult to enjoy the rest of our lives. A light heart today will lay the foundation for peaceful years ahead. Some people only truly begin to live for themselves in their 50s. They return to simple values, taking care of their health, nurturing genuine relationships, and finding joy in small things. They understand that happiness doesn't lie in being better than others, but in being content with themselves. This change shows that even when the fruit is ripe, we can still sow more good seeds. When we see people living peacefully after 50, it's easy to think it's just luck. But if we observe closely, we'll see they've accumulated their strength over a long period. They chose patience over conflict, forgiveness over resentment, and perseverance over giving up. These small choices over the years have formed a solid foundation. Conversely, instability doesn't arise spontaneously. It's often the result of years of ingrained habits. Repeated outbursts of anger create distance. Repeated selfishness erodes affection. Only when the fruit ripens do we see the clear consequences. Therefore, turning 50 is a powerful reminder of personal responsibility. No one else can live our lives for us, nor can anyone bear the entire consequences of our past choices for us. Understanding this will lead to a more cautious and mindful life. Life is like a long field. Youth is the stage of sowing and tending. By 50, many fields begin to yield a harvest. Some rice paddies are golden, others are overgrown with weeds, but no matter what, we still have land to plant. If we change our planting methods, the future can still be different. So, if you're entering or already in your 50s, don't just focus on what you have and forget your proactive role. Look back to understand, not to dwell on the past. Accept your current results as a lesson, and continue sowing better seeds for the road ahead. 50 is the stage when the fruits of many years of sowing begin to ripen. But it's also the time when we have enough experience to understand the laws of life more deeply. When we understand that everything has a reason, we will live more slowly, more peacefully, and appreciate each moment. And it is from this awakening that the fruits of our labor may be much sweeter. When we are young, we are often preoccupied with making a living and rarely reflect on our inner selves. The early years of adulthood often pass by in a fast-paced rhythm. We worry about studying, working, proving ourselves, and finding our place in society. Each day is a series of tasks following one another. In this whirlwind, very few people stop to ask themselves how they truly feel, what they are living for, and whether they are on the right path. Youth is often associated with aspirations. Aspirations for success, wealth, and recognition. These aspirations are not wrong. They are the driving force that helps us strive and overcome difficulties. But when we focus too much on external goals, we easily forget our inner lives. We know what we want to achieve, but we don't truly understand who we are or what we need to find inner peace. Earning a living is essential. Everyone has to work to survive and provide for their family. However, when all energy is devoted to making money and chasing achievements, the inner self gradually becomes neglected. We may be very good at solving problems, but struggle when facing our own emotions. We may be used to competing, but not used to listening. Lack of introspection makes us more prone to reacting habitually than consciously. When faced with conflict, we become angry without understanding the underlying causes. When we fail, we blame ourselves or circumstances without reflecting on our own choices. When we succeed, we easily become complacent, forgetting that everything can change. This lack of introspection leads to a life driven by fleeting emotions. Many people only realize they've lived too fast at a certain age. They may achieve their desired position and have a stable income, but they feel empty. This feeling isn't due to a lack of material possessions, but rather because they've never truly understood themselves. An inner self neglected for too long will speak out through weariness, boredom, or a lack of direction. Introspection isn't something extraordinary. It's simply about taking the time to observe your thoughts and feelings. When you're sad, ask yourself why you're sad. When you're angry, examine the source of that anger. When you're happy, identify what makes you happy. These simple questions help you understand yourself better and avoid being swept away by negative emotions. Young people often believe they have plenty of time to think deeply about things. They tell themselves that once they're settled, they'll slow down. But in reality, the habit of living hastily, if prolonged, becomes a rut. Once accustomed to focusing only on the surface, it becomes difficult to turn inward. Therefore, contemplation shouldn't wait until exhaustion to begin. By learning to observe our inner selves from an early age, we can make wiser decisions. We don't choose a job solely for its high salary, but also consider its value and meaning. We don't maintain a relationship simply out of fear of loneliness, but because we truly find common ground. This self-awareness helps us avoid many mistakes caused by impulsiveness. Furthermore, introspection helps us build healthy relationships. When we understand our own emotions, we can more easily empathize with the emotions of others. We no longer overreact to unintentional words. We know when to take a step back before arguing. As a result, unnecessary conflicts are reduced. Some people think that spending time reflecting is a waste of time when there's so much else to do. But in reality, a few minutes of quiet each day can save us a lot of energy later on. When our minds are clear, we work more efficiently and are less distracted. When our inner selves are stable, we are less easily affected by praise or criticism. Youth is the period for laying the foundation for life. If that foundation is based solely on external achievements, without inner understanding, the house of life will easily crumble when faced with storms. Conversely, if we strive to make a living while also nurturing our inner world, we will have a more solid foundation. Self-reflection also helps us identify false beliefs. Perhaps we always think we have to be perfect to be loved. Perhaps we believe that failure is shameful. When we look deeply into these beliefs, we will see that they are not entirely true. Recognizing this helps us reduce pressure and live more authentically. When we are young, it's easy to compare ourselves to others. Seeing friends succeed makes us anxious. Seeing others happy makes us envious. Without self-reflection, we will be drawn into a cycle of competition. But when we understand our own value and goals, we will be less affected by the external race. Sustainable development stems not only from skills and knowledge, but also from inner growth. People who are self-aware are often more adaptable to change. They don't panic when plans are disrupted. They view difficulties as learning opportunities rather than disasters. Introspection is also a way to cultivate gratitude. When we stop and look at what we have, we realize that life isn't just about pressure. We have family, friends, and job opportunities. Gratitude helps us reduce feelings of inadequacy and dissatisfaction. No matter how busy you are, you can still start with small steps. Take a few minutes each day to sit quietly and observe your breath, Write down the thoughts that are bothering you. Ask yourself how you behave today and what needs adjusting. These small actions over time will create big changes. When we are young, we are often preoccupied with making a living and pay little attention to our inner selves. But if we recognize the value of turning inward early on, we will live more fully, can still pursue success, but without losing ourselves, can still strive, but without letting our souls become exhausted. Life is not just a journey of achieving something, but also a journey of understanding who we are. When we find balance between the external and the internal, we walk more steadily. And one day, looking back, we will not only be proud of what we have achieved, but also grateful for not neglecting our inner world throughout our journey of growth. Much karma is created from words, actions, and even thoughts we are unaware of. People often think that only major events or serious mistakes leave lasting consequences. But in reality, karma doesn't only form from significant events. It begins with very small things, repeated every day, silently accumulating like drops of water falling on a rock. Words are one of the most powerful sources of karma. An unintentional remark can hurt someone for a long time. A criticism, a sarcastic remark, a single, seemingly insignificant if repeated many times, will become a habit. That habit not only affects others, but also shapes our own character. When we become accustomed to speaking negatively, our minds gradually become clouded with negativity. Actions are similar. Every action we take leaves a mark. Kind act can sow seeds of goodness. Selfish act can sow seeds of insecurity. The problem is that we often act on reflexes without thinking. We get angry and say harsh words, see immediate gain and do something unfair. Afterwards, we forget about it, but the consequences don't disappear. Not only words and actions, but thoughts are also a significant source of karma. Many people believe that thoughts are only in their heads, unnoticed, and therefore have no effect. But repeated thoughts lead to corresponding words and actions. When we constantly think negatively about others, our minds become heavy. We harbor envy, we find it difficult to experience true joy. Karma is not a concept to instill fear. It is a reminder of personal responsibility. Every thought, every word, and every action contributes to shaping our future. Some outcomes we consider random, but upon closer examination, we see they stem from a series of previous choices. Some people complain about encountering many misfortunes, but if you observe carefully, you can recognize negative habits that have been lingering for years. For example, if you are frequently quick-tempered, relationships will gradually deteriorate. If you are often suspicious and jealous, it will be difficult to build trust. These consequences don't appear immediately, but they accumulate over time. Conversely, when we practice speaking sincerely and kindly, we will gradually earn respect. When we act responsibly, others will trust us and give us more opportunities. When we maintain a pure heart, our minds become lighter. These good things don't come immediately, but they grow day by day. The hardest thing is recognizing that karma is created from things we are unaware of. Habits are the easiest thing to blind us to. When a behavior is repeated for too long, we consider it normal. We no longer question whether we are hurting anyone. Therefore, self-reflection and introspection are extremely necessary. Each day, we can ask ourselves a few simple questions. Did we say anything today that hurt someone's feelings? Did we act for the common good or just for our own ego? Are we harboring positive or negative thoughts in our minds? These questions are not meant to be self-reproachful, but to allow for timely adjustments. Karma is not an unchangeable destiny. Even if we have sown bad seeds in the past, we can still begin to sow new ones. A sincere apology can resolve many misunderstandings. A kind act can open up new relationships. A positive mindset can change the way we see life. The key is mindfulness in every moment. When preparing to say something, we can pause for a second to consider. When emotions arise, we can take a deep breath before reacting. When a negative thought arises, we can identify it and not let it lead us astray. These small pauses are how we prevent negative karma from forming. Mistakes are inevitable in life. Everyone says or does things they shouldn't at times. But what makes the difference is whether or not we learn from our mistakes. If we acknowledge our errors and change, the chain of negative karma will gradually be broken. Many karmic actions are created through words, deeds, and even thoughts, without us realizing it. Recognizing this helps us live more cautiously, not out of fear, but for personal growth. When we understand that everything has an impact, we will make more careful choices. Let's start today by observing every word we say, every action we take, and even the thoughts hidden in our hearts. Don't wait until consequences appear to regret it. Small changes each day will create big changes in the future. If you find this message meaningful, please share it so that more people can reflect on the power of words, actions, and thoughts. And don't forget to leave your feedback, because every shared experience can help others awaken and live more virtuously. At the same time, merit is also accumulated silently through small acts of kindness. Many people, when they hear the words merit and merit, often think of grand actions, deeds with a wide-ranging impact. But in reality, merit doesn't only arise from great things. It begins with very simple choices in daily life, from how we treat those around us and even ourselves. A sincere inquiry for parents, patience when children make mistakes, a yielding attitude during arguments all are seeds of goodness. These seeds may not create immediate change, but they quietly nurture our environment. When we sow kindness, we create a warm atmosphere. When we choose tolerance, we reduce conflict. Therefore, blessings are not a mystery, but the natural result of good deeds. What's remarkable is that good deeds are often accumulated silently. Those who do good aren't always recognized. There are actions that go unnoticed except by ourselves. But even if no one witnesses it, its impact remains. A good deed can make the recipient feel respected and loved. From there, they tend to treat others kindly in return. This spread creates a circle of goodness. Many people wait for a big opportunity to do good, but overlook the small things right in front of them. They think that a small thing is insignificant. However, life is made up of countless small things. How many thoughts, words, and actions do we have in a day? If among those we try to choose a little more positive things, our blessings will gradually accumulate. Good deeds not only have spiritual significance, but are also clearly demonstrated in real life. Kind people often build lasting relationships. When they encounter difficulties, they are more likely to receive help because they have helped others before. Trust and respect don't appear spontaneously. They are formed through consistent actions over time. Some people believe that doing good deeds without receiving anything in return is a disadvantage. But if we look deeper, we will see that the greatest value of good deeds lies in inner transformation. When we help someone, we feel joy and peace. Our hearts become lighter, our minds more open. That very state is a form of blessing. Good fortune is also accumulated through how we face adversity. When misunderstood, we choose to explain instead of retaliating. When hurt, we choose to learn from the experience instead of harboring resentment. These choices are not easy, but each time we overcome them, we build greater mental strength. This strength helps us to be more resilient in the future. Within the family, blessings are nurtured through filial piety and responsibility. Even when busy, we still make time to listen to our parents. Even when tired, we still try to speak kindly to our loved ones. These seemingly simple things create a warm foundation for a loving home. Children raised in a loving environment will learn how to love. In the workplace, integrity is demonstrated through honesty and dedication. We don't do wrong for short-term gain. We don't exploit others to advance ourselves. By upholding these principles, we may not achieve success quickly, but we build lasting credibility. Credibility is an intangible asset, yet incredibly valuable. A small act of kindness could be giving way to others, saying thank you, or keeping a promise. These simple actions contribute to building a trustworthy image. People around you perceive sincerity and are therefore more willing to cooperate and support you. Good deeds not only benefit the present, but also influence the future. When we maintain virtuous habits, we create a favorable environment for ourselves and future generations. Our children look to how we live and learn from us. If they see us being helpful and compassionate, they will follow suit. It's important not to do good deeds with a calculating mind. If we only help with the expectation of receiving something in return, our hearts remain burdened. The most sustainable accumulation of merit occurs when we act for what is right, not for recognition. This selflessness leads to inner peace. Every day, we have opportunities to accumulate merit. These opportunities are not far away, but lie within small situations. When someone makes a mistake, we can choose to reprimand them or guide them. When we see someone in need, we can ignore them or offer assistance. Each choice leaves its mark. We may not see the results immediately, but like a seed sown in the ground, blessings take time to sprout. When the time is right, they will blossom in unexpected ways. This could be an unexpected opportunity, a wonderful relationship, or simply inner peace. At the same time, merit is also accumulated silently through small acts of kindness. Understanding this, we will cherish simple daily actions. We will no longer underestimate the power of kindness. We realize that each day is an opportunity to sow more seeds of goodness. When we live with a kind heart, we not only beautify our own lives, but also contribute to easing the tensions around us. Even in a world full of changes, the kindness of each individual can still make a difference. And it is in this quiet journey that blessings gradually grow, enduring and profound, becoming a solid foundation for a peaceful life. The law of cause and effect doesn't disappear, it just waits for the right conditions to bear fruit. This isn't just a philosophical saying, but a silent law operating in every aspect of life. Every thought, every word, every action of a person is a seed sown. Some seeds sprout quickly, some remain dormant for a long time, but none completely disappear. When we are young, many believe that a small action won't have a big impact. We might say something hurtful and quickly forget about it. We might behave irresponsibly and think that if no one knows, it's okay. But the seed we sow remains. It waits for the right circumstances to bear fruit. The cause or effect can be time, environment, or the people involved. Some things we do today may only show results many years later. For example, an unhealthy lifestyle in youth might not have immediate consequences, but as we age, our bodies will clearly show them. This is the process of the cause meeting the right conditions to bear fruit. The same applies to relationships. If we consistently disrespect others, they might initially tolerate it. But over time, this will create a growing distance. At some point, when the time is right, the relationship may break down. Only then will we suddenly realize that things didn't happen by chance. Conversely, good deeds don't disappear. Helping someone once might not bring about a noticeable change. But when the time is right, we may receive support in return during difficult times. Sometimes that support doesn't come from the person we helped, but from a different circumstance. The law of cause and effect operates on a broader scale than the limited understanding of humankind. What makes many people skeptical is that they don't see immediate results. They do bad things and still see their lives as normal, even prosperous. They do good things and haven't seen good results in return. But the law of cause and effect is not a short-term calculation. It's like an underground stream, quiet but persistent. The law of cause and effect is not meant to punish or reward, simply reflects the correspondence between cause and effect. When we sow orange seeds, we cannot expect to harvest mangoes. When we harbor resentment, we will find it difficult to find peace. When we sow sincerity, we lay the foundation for trust. Understanding that cause and effect is inescapable helps us live more responsibly. We will think twice before saying harsh words. We will carefully consider our actions before causing harm. We know that even if others don't see it, we are still creating consequences for ourselves. Some people only realize the chain of karma they've sown at a certain point in their lives. They see the results aren't what they hoped for and feel a sense of injustice. But if they calmly reflect, they can recognize how past choices have shaped their present. This realization shouldn't lead to self-reproach, but rather to change. Even though old seeds remain, we can still sow new ones. When we change our way of life, we are creating different seeds. The old fruit may still ripen when the time is right, but if we continue to sow good seeds, the future will gradually be shaped. No one can completely erase what they have done, but everyone can decide what they will do next. The law of cause and effect also manifests in the inner world. When we constantly think negatively, our minds become accustomed to a gloomy outlook. Gradually, we see life as full of disadvantages. This is the consequence of habitual thinking. If we learn to look at the positive side and cultivate gratitude, our minds will feel lighter. This change is also the result of a new cause. In a family, if we sow seeds of care and attentive listening, we will build strong bonds. If we sow indifference, distance will grow. These things don't happen overnight, but accumulate over time. When the time is right, the results will become clear. Understanding this principle helps us to blame circumstances less. Instead of asking why this happened to us, we can ask ourselves what seeds we have sown. This question is not about assigning blame, but about finding ways to adjust. When we honestly acknowledge our mistakes, we have the opportunity to transform ourselves. The law of cause and effect doesn't disappear, just waits for the right conditions to bear fruit. This saying reminds us that every choice we make today is important. We can't completely control our circumstances, but we can control how we think, speak, and act. Every small action is a seed. Life becomes clearer when we understand this principle. We are no longer overly envious of others' success, because we know they too have sown some seeds. We are no longer overly despairing when facing difficulties, because we know we can still sow new seeds for the future. Living with an understanding of cause and effect helps us to be more patient. We don't rush to demand immediate results. We understand that everything needs time and the right conditions. This patience helps us remain steadfast in the face of change. Finally, understanding that cause and effect never disappears is also a reminder of hope. No matter what the past was like, the present is still an opportunity to sow again. If we begin to live kindly, honestly, and responsibly from today, those seeds will wait for the right time to blossom. Therefore, each passing day is not just another day of life, but another opportunity to sow seeds. Choose to sow seeds whose fruits you are ready to reap in the future. Because when the time is right, what you have sown will bear fruit. It will not be lost, not forgotten, but simply waiting for the right moment to manifest clearly in your life. After 50, health clearly reflects previous lifestyles and mindsets. This isn't a scare tactic, but a subtle reality that unfolds over time. When young, the body has a rapid ability to compensate and recover. We can stay up late for days, eat irregularly, and work intensely without fully feeling the consequences. But at a certain point, especially after 50, all the habits accumulated in the past begin to manifest themselves clearly. Health is not just about physical well-being, it's also closely linked to mental state. People who live moderately, listen to their bodies, and maintain inner peace tend to have a stronger foundation. They understand that success is meaningless if it comes at the cost of exhaustion. Therefore, from an early age, they cultivate a balanced lifestyle between work and rest, between responsibility and self-care. Conversely, if for many years we chase after work without getting enough sleep, eat haphazardly, and neglect exercise, our bodies will gradually weaken. Initially, there will be only minor signs such as fatigue, aches and pains, and difficulty sleeping. But after the age of 50, these symptoms can become more pronounced. The body will no longer be as resilient as before. Temperament also profoundly affects health. People who are easily angered often keep their bodies in a constant state of stress. Prolonged stress disrupts many physiological functions. People who are frequently anxious and have negative thoughts are prone to insomnia, loss of appetite, or digestive disorders. All of these are consequences of internal imbalance. After the age of 50, these differences become even more apparent. Some people enter this stage with a light heart, a gentle smile, and a supple body. They not only focus on nutrition and exercise, but also learn to let go of unnecessary things. They argue less, compete less, and accept things beyond their control. This inner peace helps stabilize the nervous system and allows the body to function smoothly. Meanwhile, some people still cling to the habit of winning and losing, harboring resentment and regret. Their minds are constantly tense, making it difficult for their bodies to truly rest. Even with ample material resources, they still feel insecure. Over time, this insecurity becomes a burden on their health. Lifestyle is also reflected in how we treat ourselves. People who value themselves won't push themselves beyond their limits. They understand their boundaries and dare to say no to what isn't right. Conversely, if we constantly strive to prove ourselves and push ourselves to achieve more, pressure will accumulate year after year. After 50, the body is like an honest mirror. It shows how we've eaten, slept, and lived. If we've maintained good habits for many years, that mirror reflects stability. If we neglect our health, the reflection can be shocking. However, it's important to remember that it's never too late to make adjustments. Even after turning 50, you can still change your habits. Start by going to bed earlier, eating healthier, and making time for gentle exercise. More importantly, learn to care for your mind by reducing negative thoughts and cultivating gratitude. When we change our way of thinking, our bodies gradually respond. A peaceful mind helps stabilize heart rate and promotes deeper sleep. Tolerant attitude reduces stress in relationships. Therefore, health comes not only from medicine but also from adjustments in lifestyle and mindset. After turning 50, many people realize the true value of peace of mind. They understand that money cannot buy back lost health. They begin to prioritize time for family, friends, and simple pleasures. This shift in priorities helps lighten their spirits and allows their bodies to recover to some extent. Health also reflects the level of satisfaction with life. People who know contentment tend to experience less stress. They don't compare themselves to others too much. Contentment helps them maintain a slow and steady pace of life. Conversely, if one constantly feels deprived and dissatisfied, the mind finds it difficult to relax. The reality is that some people remain healthy and mentally sharp after 50 because they prepared early. They viewed healthcare as a long-term investment, not a temporary solution. They didn't wait until illness struck to make changes. If you're at this stage or about to enter it, see it as an opportunity for reflection. Don't just ask yourself how much wealth you have, but ask yourself how much energy and joy you still have left to live. If you realize there's something that needs adjusting, start today. Health after 50 is the result of years of accumulation, but the future still depends on your choices now. Choose a moderate lifestyle, a peaceful mindset, and balance instead of extremism. Every small change today can make a difference in the years to come. If you find this article meaningful, please share it so that your family and friends can reflect on the connection between lifestyle, mindset, and health. And don't forget to leave your thoughts, because your experience might motivate someone to start taking better care of themselves today. Family relationships reveal whether we are tolerant or competitive. The family is the closest place where people most clearly reveal their true nature and behavioral habits. Outside the home, we may maintain an image, choose our words carefully, and behave according to social norms. But within the family, where there is long-standing familiarity and closeness, our true selves gradually become apparent through small conflicts, everyday conversations, and seemingly insignificant decisions. Tolerance within a family doesn't have to be anything grand. It could simply be giving in during disagreements, listening attentively when loved ones share their thoughts without judgment, or accepting differences instead of trying to change others to suit your own preferences. These small actions, repeated many times, create a warm and trusting atmosphere. Conversely, if we live with a competitive mindset, the family will become a breeding ground for tension. Competitiveness isn't just about heated arguments. It's also about subtle comparisons, comparing who contributes more, who is more successful, who has more say in decisions. When our minds are always focused on winning and being right, we easily overlook the feelings of those around us. The family environment is the clearest reflection of our habits. If we are accustomed to criticizing, we will frequently criticize our loved ones. If we are accustomed to maintaining a high ego, we will find it difficult to admit our mistakes to our children or parents. These things may not create immediate consequences, but accumulating over time will create an invisible distance. Some families appear complete on the surface but lack connection on the inside. Often the reason isn't a major event, but rather that individual members haven't learned to be tolerant. Each time a conflict isn't resolved with understanding, it leaves a small wound.
How many wounds
add up to a crack. Tolerance doesn't mean accepting all wrongdoings. Tolerance means understanding that everyone has limitations and flaws. When we look at loved ones with empathy, we find it easier to communicate appropriately. Instead of judging, we ask questions. Instead of condemning, we seek explanations. Family relationships also reflect our level of maturity. When we are young, we may easily react emotionally. But if after many years we still maintain the habit of arguing fiercely, perhaps we haven't truly matured in our behavior. Family is the clearest place to test that change. Many people are often gentle with strangers, but harsh with their loved ones. They think that family will always be there, so there's no need to be reserved. But this complacency makes hurt feelings more likely. Family members also have self-respect and emotions. When they are treated lightly for a long time, they may withdraw. A harmonious family isn't one without conflict, but one where members prioritize feelings over ego. When disagreements arise, they seek to talk things out instead of avoiding or attacking each other. They understand that maintaining unity is more important than proving who is right or wrong. Family relationships also reflect how we cope with pressure. If we bring work stress home and vent it on our loved ones, we are creating a negative cycle. Conversely, if we know how to regulate our emotions before entering the family space, we are protecting shared peace. Tolerance is also expressed through forgiveness. Children may be impulsive, and parents may be overly strict. If we dwell on past mistakes, the relationship will regress. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it helps us move forward more easily. Conflicts within families often stem from a lack of listening. When each person only wants to express their own opinion without listening to the other, the gap widens. Listening is not just silence. It's an effort to understand what the other person is trying to convey. A tolerant family usually has an open atmosphere. People dare to share their thoughts because they know they won't be judged. Conversely, if the atmosphere is always tense, members will gradually speak less. That silence is a sign of distance. Family relationships reveal whether we have lived with tolerance or competitiveness, because they are the result of long-standing habits. No one can maintain a false image throughout many years of living together. How we behave each day will form the foundation for bonding or estrangement. The good news is that we can always adjust. If we realize we've been too rigid, we can start by apologizing. If we realize we've often been competitive, we can practice yielding in small matters. Change doesn't need to be dramatic, just sincere and persistent. Family is where we return after all the ups and downs. If it's filled with tolerance, we'll have the energy to continue facing life. If it's filled with competition, we'll feel exhausted even at home. Therefore, investing in understanding within the family is investing in our own peace of mind. Ultimately, family relationships are like a mirror reflecting one's inner self. Looking at the quality of those relationships, one can ask oneself how one has lived. If one wants a warmer family atmosphere, perhaps one needs to start by adjusting their own attitude, because when one person changes towards tolerance, the entire family atmosphere can gradually shift in a positive direction. Inner peace or unease is a reflection of years of mental well-being. It's not by chance that someone can remain calm in the face of adversity. Nor is it by chance that some people easily fall into anxiety and instability even in less challenging circumstances. Today's inner state is often the result of a long accumulation of experiences. From ways of thinking and reacting to habits that nurture or erode the soul, inner peace is when a person is able to observe their emotions without being swept away. They still experience sadness, anger, and disappointment. But these emotions don't linger and don't completely control their behavior. This peace isn't due to avoiding reality, but rather to cultivating a strong mental state over many years. Conversely, inner anxiety often manifests as constant worry. Anxious individuals tend to overthink and imagine negative scenarios. They have difficulty sleeping well, concentrating, and frequently feel tired even when their work isn't particularly demanding. The state doesn't develop overnight, but accumulates from negative thinking habits and a long-term failure to properly release emotions. Years of spiritual life are built from small daily choices. We choose what to read, what to listen to, who to spend time with, and what to think about before bed. Each choice is like a brick laid in the foundation of our inner selves. If we consistently cultivate gratitude and compassion, our souls will gradually become softer and more stable. If we constantly compare ourselves to others, compete, and maintain a defensive attitude, our inner selves will become tense and sensitive. Many people focus only on external achievements while neglecting their inner world. They invest time in work and social relationships, but rarely take time to listen to themselves. When negative emotions arise, they try to mask or suppress them. Over time, these repressed emotions accumulate and create a vague sense of insecurity. Conversely, people with inner peace tend to confront their emotions. When they are sad, they acknowledge their sadness. When they fail, they allow themselves to be disappointed, but do not devalue themselves. This honesty with their emotions helps them release negative energy before it becomes a burden. Our inner selves are also greatly influenced by how we perceive the past. If we constantly dwell on past mistakes, our minds become trapped in a cycle of self-reproach. Prolonged regret weakens self-confidence. Conversely, if we view the past as a lesson, we can learn from it without losing self-respect. How we confront our memories determines the level of peace we experience in the present. Our living environment and relationships also contribute to shaping our inner selves. Being around people who constantly complain and criticize makes us easily drawn into a negative atmosphere. Being around people who encourage and listen makes us feel supported. However, the most important factor remains our inner self-regulation. We can't always change our environment, but we can change how we react. A healthy mental life is often accompanied by positive habits. These could include reading, journaling, meditation, or simply taking quiet walks to reflect. These habits help us connect with ourselves and clear our minds after a busy day. When maintained consistently over many years, they create a solid foundation for inner peace. Insecurity can also stem from living in a way that doesn't align with one's own values. When we constantly have to play the role of someone else to please those around us, inner conflict arises. This prolonged conflict creates simmering tension. Conversely, when we live in accordance with our core values, we feel more at ease because we don't have to hide anything. Inner peace is also reflected in the ability to accept change. Life is always changing, and no one can control everything. People with a strong mental foundation understand that loss and failure are part of the journey. They don't see difficulties as the end, but as opportunities to adjust and grow. Meanwhile, those who are not mentally prepared are more likely to fall into crisis when events occur. Even a small change can make them feel disoriented. This doesn't mean they are weak, but rather that they haven't had enough time and training to build emotional resilience. Our inner selves also reflect how we treat others. Peaceful people are less likely to judge hastily, understanding that everyone has their own story. Insecure people are more likely to react harshly, feeling threatened or disrespected. Our outward behavior partly reveals our inner state. It's important to note that our inner selves aren't fixed. Even if we've lived in anxiety for years, we can still change. This process requires patience and mindfulness. We need to identify negative thought patterns and gradually replace them with a more positive perspective. The change may be slow, but each small step counts. Inner well-being should be a priority, not a secondary concern. When the mind is at peace, we work more efficiently, build better relationships, and make wiser decisions. Conversely, if our inner selves are constantly unsettled, external achievements will hardly bring a sense of fulfillment. Inner peace or anxiety not only affects the present, but also shapes the future. People with a strong mindset often dare to challenge themselves and take calculated risks. They believe that no matter the outcome, they have the ability to bounce back. This self-confidence stems from a long process of mental training. Looking back over the years, we can ask ourselves what we've nurtured in our minds. How much time have we allowed negative thoughts to occupy? How many moments have we dedicated to gratitude and self-encouragement? These questions help us better understand our current state. Ultimately, inner peace or unease is a reflection of years of mental well-being. It reminds us that every thought and emotion leaves its mark. If we want a more peaceful tomorrow, we need to start today by choosing healthy habits and cultivating self-understanding. When we persistently build a solid mental foundation, peace will no longer be a distant dream, but will become a natural state that accompanies us every step of the way. Good fortune doesn't come naturally, it's cultivated day by day. Many people, upon seeing someone living peacefully, with a harmonious family and a stable job, often assume they are lucky. But behind that word luck lies a long process of accumulation from small, repeated thoughts, words, and actions over the years. Good fortune doesn't fall from the sky, nor does it form after just a few spontaneous good deeds. It is the result of perseverance and a conscious effort to live a virtuous life every day. Happiness begins with our mindset. When we consistently cultivate kind and benevolent thoughts, we sow the first seeds. Thought unseen by others can still have a profound impact. If we frequently think negatively of others, are envious, and constantly strive for superiority, our inner selves will gradually become burdened. Conversely, if we cultivate empathy, compassion, and wish others well in their success, our hearts will lighten. Yes. This lightness is the foundation of happiness. Thoughts lead to words. Words can warm the hearts of others, but they can also inflict deep wounds. A timely word of encouragement can help someone overcome a difficult period. An unthoughtful criticism can leave the listener feeling sad for a long time. When we choose to speak sincerely, respectfully, and constructively, we are cultivating virtue for ourselves, because every word we utter not only impacts others, but also nourishes our own character. Action is the next step in concretizing blessings. Good deeds don't necessarily have to be grand. Sometimes it's simply giving up your seat to an elderly person on public transport, helping a colleague when they're overloaded, or listening to loved ones without judgment. These small things, if maintained regularly, will form good habits. Good habits, over time, will shape character. And character is the most enduring source of blessings. Many people wait until they are successful before thinking about doing good deeds. They believe that only with abundant wealth can they help others. In reality, blessings don't depend entirely on material possessions. Smile, a respectful attitude, and timely generosity are also ways to accumulate blessings. When we live with an open heart, even if we are not wealthy, we can still sow seeds of goodness. Happiness is also cultivated through how we face difficulties. When faced with adversity, if we choose to complain and blame others, our hearts will become increasingly narrow. But if we see it as an opportunity to learn and grow, we are transforming adversity into material that nourishes happiness. Patience and a positive attitude in the face of challenges are manifestations of a maturing inner self. The families where blessings are most clearly formed. How we treat our parents, spouses, and children reflects the level of blessings we are building. A person who is filial, respectful of their spouse, and attentive to their children will create a warm atmosphere. This warmth not only brings happiness in the present, but also leaves a lasting impact on future generations. Blessings in the family are like a flowing stream. If kept pure, they will nourish the entire extended family. The same applies to work. Those who are honest, responsible, and don't exploit others will gradually build a good reputation. This reputation isn't built instantly, but is the result of perseverance. When difficulties arise, those we have helped or respected will be willing to reciprocate. That's a form of blessings returning. Happiness is also related to contentment. When we constantly compare ourselves to others and feel inadequate, greed grows. Greed easily leads us to make ill-considered decisions, even harming others. Conversely, when we appreciate what we have, we live more slowly and peacefully. That peace is happiness present in the moment. Another crucial element is forgiveness. Holding on to resentment only weighs down our hearts. When we learn to let go of past hurts, we free ourselves from emotional burdens. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting everything, but rather not letting the past continue to control the present. When the heart is light, blessings have a chance to flourish. Happiness is not something that can be measured in numbers. Some people are wealthy, but have no peace of mind. Others have just enough material possessions, but live peacefully and are loved. True happiness is manifested in the harmony between the inner and outer selves. When our inner selves are stable, we view life with a more positive outlook. When we know how to share, our relationships become stronger. Cultivating happiness each day requires mindfulness. We need to ask ourselves what we did today to make the lives of those around us better. What words did we say that brought joy to someone? Did we help someone overcome a small difficulty? These questions help us become more aware of our actions. Awareness is the first step to change. Some young people think they have plenty of time and don't need to worry about accumulating merit yet. But time flies by quickly. Today's habits will become the foundation for the future. If we wait until we face difficulties to think about living well, it may be too late. Merit is like a seed that needs to be sown early so that it can grow when we need it. Each day is a new opportunity to cultivate happiness. Even if we made mistakes yesterday, we can start again today. Just by changing a small habit, like controlling our anger or listening more, we can create a positive transformation. If this transformation is maintained, it will gradually change our lives. Looking back over the long journey, we realize that happiness doesn't come from a single moment of luck, but from countless right choices. Every kind thought, every sincere word, every kind deed has contributed to building a solid foundation. Thanks to that foundation, when adversity strikes, we still have something to lean on and stand firm. Happiness doesn't come naturally. It's cultivated day by day through our attitude towards life and how we treat the world. If we persistently sow good seeds, even if the results aren't immediate, they will silently grow. At some point, we will find ourselves surrounded by peace, trust, and love. That is the sweet fruit of a long journey of living consciously and responsibly with every small choice we make each day. Karma doesn't disappear on its own unless we transform it. Many people hope that time will erase all mistakes, that simply waiting in silence will allow old consequences to fade away. But in reality, everything we've thought, said, and done leaves an imprint on our minds and relationships. Without recognition and adjustment, those imprints will continue to repeat themselves in different forms. Karma is not something mysterious at first. It is the result of habit. When we repeatedly react with anger, we form a habit of anger. When we are consistently selfish, we reinforce the tendency to put personal interests above others. These habits form character, and character in turn leads us to corresponding circumstances. Therefore, karma is not far away. It lies within the way we live each day. Some people believe that simply avoiding the past is enough, but avoidance doesn't equate to transformation. An untreated wound may temporarily close, but the infection remains. Similarly, an unacknowledged mistake will continue to affect how we behave. When faced with a similar situation, it's easy to repeat the old reaction. Transforming karma begins with acknowledgement, acknowledging that we have been wrong, hurtful, or acted thoughtlessly. This acknowledgement is not meant for self-blame or self-deprecation, but to open up opportunities for change.
Right.
Only when we dare to look our mistakes in the eye can we find the right path to adjustment. Another crucial step is behavioral modification. If we previously spoke hurtfully, we need to practice speaking constructively and respectfully. If we were irresponsible at work, we need to cultivate discipline and commitment. This change cannot happen overnight. It requires perseverance and constant self-reflection. Karma is also related to how we think about others. When we harbor resentment for a long time, our minds are always in a state of tension. Resentment is like an invisible thread binding us to the past. Transformation doesn't mean forgetting everything, but letting go of the burden. When we forgive, we are gradually cutting that thread. In families, karma is clearly manifested in the way members interact. If we grew up in a critical environment, we may unconsciously repeat that behavior with our children. Without conscious awareness, this cycle can continue for generations. Transformation here means recognizing the old pattern and deciding to change how we react. If just one person stops and chooses a different approach, the negative flow can be reshaped. The same applies in the workplace. Someone who is cheated for short-term gain may face long-term loss of trust. Without changing their work habits, they will continue to struggle with collaboration. Transformation here means rebuilding credibility through honesty and responsibility. This process may be slow, but each correct action contributes to gradually erasing past consequences. Karma stems not only from actions, but also from thoughts. Repeated negative thoughts influence emotions and decisions. If we constantly think of ourselves as inadequate, we easily miss opportunities. If we always doubt others, we struggle to build lasting relationships. Transformation at this level requires observing our thought processes and gradually replacing them with a more positive and realistic perspective. A crucial element in transformation is time. You can't expect past consequences to disappear after just an apology or a good deed. Like a neglected garden that needs days of care to flourish again, the mind needs constant nurturing. Patience helps us avoid discouragement when we don't see immediate results. Transforming karma is also linked to learning. When we proactively read books, listen to positive perspectives, participate in healthy environments, we create conditions for ourselves to change. Each new piece of knowledge can help us see issues more deeply. As a result, we no longer react according to old habits but have more choices. Most importantly, it's about sincerity. If we change only out of fear of consequences, that change is easily shaken when favorable circumstances return. But if we truly desire to live better, the transformation will be lasting. A sincere heart is like a source of water that nourishes all efforts to improve oneself. There are karmic consequences that cannot be completely erased, but we can lessen them by living responsibly in the present. Someone who has caused harm can make amends by supporting and protecting others. Someone who was once selfish can learn to share and listen. Positive actions today don't erase the past, but they create new paths. Karma doesn't disappear on its own because it's the result of repetition. To change the outcome, we must change the repetition. Every time we choose a different response, even slightly, we begin to break the old chain. When the new chain is maintained long enough, it becomes a new habit. Looking back on our journey, we can identify patterns that have caused difficulties. It could be a hot temper, impatience, or a tendency to avoid responsibility. Recognizing these is a significant step forward. From there, we can gradually adjust without excessive self-blame. Life always gives us opportunities to correct our mistakes if we truly want to. Each day is an opportunity to sow new seeds. When we persistently cultivate positive thoughts, sincere words, and kind actions, we are gradually transforming what once weighed heavily on us. Karma doesn't disappear on its own without transformation, but it's not immutable either. Through mindfulness, patience, and sincerity, we can change our path. This process may be long, but each small step counts. When we stop repeating past mistakes and live more responsibly, we will feel a sense of lightness gradually spreading through our souls. And this lightness is a sign that karma is being transformed in a more positive direction each day. Even after turning 50, people can still create new and better lives. Many people over 50 often think their lives are settled, that what is past largely determines the rest. Some regret missed opportunities. Others worry about their health and time not being as abundant as before. But in reality, 50 is not the end of change, but a milestone to begin living more deeply and consciously. The first 50 years of life may have produced many results. There have been successes, mistakes, things to be proud of, and things to regret. However, each remaining day is still an opportunity to sow new seeds. These seeds are not only great actions, but also every thought, every word, every small choice. As long as we have breath, we still have the ability to adjust our own path. Turning 50 brings a unique advantage: experience. After years of facing challenges, we understand the value of family, health, and peace of mind better. Lessons learned through sweat and tears now become invaluable assets. Thanks to this experience, we can create a new person with greater maturity and clarity than we did in our youth. Some people think that change at this age is too late. But in reality, spiritual maturity often comes after a person has gone through many ups and downs. When we are no longer chasing after fame and fortune, we have time to reflect on ourselves. This reflection helps us realize what is truly important. From there, we can choose to live differently. Creating a better person begins with adjusting one's mindset. If we were once hot-tempered or stubborn, we can learn to listen more. If we used to compare ourselves to others and compete, we can learn to be content and appreciate what we have. Changes in thinking will gradually lead to changes in actions. The family is the clearest place to sow new seeds. By the age of 50, many people have grown-up children or even grandchildren. This is a crucial time to set a good example. Timely encouragement can boost children's confidence. A tolerant attitude can mend old misunderstandings. Even if there were conflicts in the past, the present is an opportunity to repair them and rebuild relationships. Furthermore, taking care of one's health is also a way to cultivate good character. When we become more conscious of eating a balanced diet, exercising regularly, and maintaining a positive attitude, we are sowing the seeds for the years to come. Health is not only the result of youth, but also the fruit of present care. Every healthy habit we adopt today contributes to shaping the quality of life tomorrow. In our work, even as we approach retirement age, we can still create a positive legacy by working diligently and sharing our experience with the next generation. Instead of keeping knowledge to ourselves, we can guide younger generations. This transmission not only helps others grow, but also creates lasting value for ourselves. When we see young people succeed thanks to our advice, we feel the profound meaning of dedication. Turning 50 is also a good time to participate in volunteer or community activities. When you have the means, you can help those in need. Even if you don't have much material wealth, you can still contribute with your time and attention. Such actions nurture compassion and enrich your spiritual life. Many people at this age begin learning new things, such as reading more, taking skills classes, or practicing meditation. Learning knows no age limits. When we open ourselves to new knowledge, we renew ourselves. Each piece of knowledge we accumulate is a positive seed for our thinking and way of life. Creating a new self also involves letting go of old resentments. At 50, carrying too much burden only tires the soul. When we learn to forgive and reconcile with the past, we free up energy for the present. That lightness helps us live more fully in each remaining day. One important thing is not to limit yourself. Even after 50, you can still set new goals. Some people start a small business, some pursue their passion for art, some choose a slower pace of life and focus on family. Each choice is a way of sowing seeds. The core principle is to live consciously and take responsibility for your decisions. Turning 50 also gives us a chance to reevaluate our core values. We can ask ourselves how we want to be remembered, as a hot-tempered and unapproachable person, or as a calm and tolerant one. Answering that question will help us know which kind of seeds to sow for the road ahead. No one can completely change the past, but everyone can change the present. Every morning is an opportunity to start anew. Even changing just a small habit, like speaking more kindly or spending more time with family, can make a difference. Small changes, if sustained, will create big transformations. Many people over 50 find peace because they learn to accept. Accepting the limitations of their bodies, accepting what cannot be changed. But acceptance does not mean giving up. It is a calm attitude towards reality, while still striving within one's capabilities. It is this attitude that allows new seeds to be sown in a state of balance and clarity. Even after turning 50, people can still create better karma because life goes on. As long as we can think and act, we have choices. Every good choice we make today will contribute to shaping the years to come. We may not be able to change the entire past outcome, but we can certainly create a more positive path. Life is not measured by the number of years lived, but by how we live each year. At 50, we have the experience and understanding to live more profoundly. If we know how to take advantage of this opportunity to sow good seeds, we will feel peace spreading through our souls. And that peace is clear evidence that new life is being formed, carrying hope for a meaningful and bright future ahead. Living virtuously, speaking kind words, and letting go of resentment are ways to cultivate merit and virtue. In the journey of life, everyone hopes for a peaceful life, a harmonious family, and a light heart. But merit and virtue are not something that comes naturally. They're formed from small choices each day, from how we think, how we speak, and how we treat those around us. When these three elements, living virtuously, speaking kind words, and letting go of resentment entwine, they create a solid foundation for a life of depth and value. Living virtuously begins with the awareness of not harming others. This is not limited to grand actions, but begins with very small things. When we do not exploit others for personal gain, when we keep our word in our work, when we respect the feelings of our loved ones, we are sowing seeds of goodness. These seeds, though small, have a lasting and enduring impact over time. Goodness does not equate to weakness. Many people fear that living virtuously will lead to disadvantage. In reality, living virtuously is a conscious choice, and still protect our legitimate rights without resorting to trickery or cruelty. Those who live virtuously understand that victory achieved by harming others only brings short-term benefits and long-term consequences. Living virtuously also manifests in compassion. When we see someone in difficulty, we are ready to help within our means. Sometimes it's just a simple question or a small act of support. Genuine concern can help others feel understood and supported. At the same time, we ourselves experience inner joy from doing something helpful. Besides actions, words play a crucial role in cultivating merit and virtue. Words have the power to build, but can also destroy. A thoughtless remark can leave a deep wound in the listener's heart. Conversely, A timely word of encouragement can lift spirits and change an entire gloomy day. Speaking kindly doesn't mean always saying insincere, sweet things. Kind words are sincere, stemming from good intentions and respect. When offering constructive criticism, we can choose a gentle approach instead of an attack. When conflicts arise, we can speak constructively instead of blaming. Refinement in speech reflects maturity of mind. In a family, kind words create a warm atmosphere. A compliment can boost a child's confidence. A thank you can make a spouse feel appreciated. Positive words repeated daily become a source of energy that nourishes relationships. The family thus becomes a peaceful place to return to. In the workplace, kind words help build credibility and trust. When we communicate with respect, colleagues feel more comfortable cooperating. Courtesy not only facilitates smooth workflow, but also lays the foundation for lasting relationships. It's also a form of virtue accumulated over the years. However, if one only lives virtuously and speaks kind words, but harbors resentment in their heart, their blessings will be incomplete. Resentment is like a smoldering fire. It burns away peace and keeps the mind constantly stressed. When we hold on to old grievances, we inadvertently bind ourselves to the past. Letting go of resentment isn't about denying the pain. It's about accepting that what happened has happened and that we can't change it. When we understand that everyone has limits and makes mistakes, we become less harsh on others. Forgiveness doesn't erase the lesson. It helps us feel lighter and move on. Prolonged resentment can damage relationships. In a family, constantly dwelling on past mistakes widens the gap. In society, nurturing bitterness makes it difficult to open ourselves to new opportunities. Letting go of resentment frees up energy to focus on the present. Living virtuously, speaking kind words, and letting go of resentment are closely interconnected. When we live virtuously, we create fewer new conflicts. When we speak kind words, we reduce unnecessary harm. When we let go of resentment, we heal old wounds. These three elements support each other, helping the soul become increasingly pure. Good karma isn't something you see immediately. It's like an underground stream, silently nourishing the roots. When we persistently live a virtuous life, the results can come in many forms. It could be the trust of others, a harmonious family, or peace of mind amidst life's storms. These things aren't flashy, but they are very lasting. Sometimes we encounter people who don't reciprocate our kindness. That doesn't mean living a good life is pointless. Every good deed leaves an imprint on our own souls. When we maintain kindness, we are building a foundation for ourselves first. Therefore, blessings begin from within. To maintain this way of life, we need mindfulness. Each day we can ask ourselves what we have done to make the lives of those around us better. What words have we said that warmed someone's heart? How much resentment have we let go of? These questions help us to adjust and continue to improve. Living virtuously doesn't require perfection. We can still make mistakes, but what's important is knowing how to correct them. When we accidentally say something that hurts others, we can apologize and learn from the experience. That humility is also a part of virtue. Over time, those who live virtuously and know how to let go will feel a change within themselves. They feel less burdened and less stressed. Relationships become more harmonious. Although life still presents challenges, they are no longer swept away by negative emotions as before. Living virtuously, speaking kind words, and letting go of resentment are the most sustainable ways to cultivate merit and virtue. There's no need to wait for a special moment. We can begin today. Every kind thought, every sincere word, and every act of forgiveness is a brick building a solid foundation for the future. As we persistently cultivate these qualities each day, merit and virtue will gradually grow, bringing us a more peaceful, harmonious, and fulfilling life as the years go by. When we understand the law of cause and effect, we no longer harbor resentment, but instead turn inward to correct ourselves. In life, there are times when we encounter failure, loss, or are treated not as expected. Many people's first reaction is to blame the circumstances, others, or even fate. But as we gradually understand the law of cause and effect, that perspective will change. We realize that every result has a cause, and we ourselves contribute to creating those causes. The law of cause and effect is not something distant or punitive. It is a natural law of life. You reap what you sow. When you sow sincerity, you easily receive trust in return. When you sow selfishness, it is difficult to build lasting relationships. This law operates silently, sometimes without immediate results, but over time it will become clear. Understanding cause and effect helps us reduce resentment because we no longer view events as random occurrences. Instead of asking why others treat us that way, we ask ourselves how we behaved in the past. Instead of complaining about circumstances, we examine the choices we have made. This shift from the external to the internal is the first step towards maturity. Resentment often stems from a feeling of injustice. We believe we didn't deserve that outcome. But upon closer examination, we can identify small factors that contributed to the current situation. Perhaps we were impatient, ignored advice, or failed to heed warning signs. Recognizing this isn't about self-reproach, but about learning from the experience. Before understanding cause and effect, we easily live with a blaming mindset. Every difficulty that arises is attributed to others. Over time, this habit causes us to lose the ability to improve ourselves. Because if everything is caused by others, we will see no reason to change ourselves. Understanding cause and effect helps us regain control of our lives. Self-improvement doesn't mean denying external influences. Circumstances and other people still have a certain impact. However, instead of trying to control everything, we focus on what we can change: our own thoughts and behaviors. When we adjust our attitude, we change how we react. This new way of reacting will lead to different results. Within the family, understanding cause and effect helps us reflect on our own behavior. If relationships with children are strained, we can ask ourselves if we've listened enough. If spouses frequently disagree, we can review our communication style. Instead of insisting the other person is wrong, we can try changing our way of speaking and behaving. Often, just one person changing their behavior can ease the tension in the family. In the workplace, the law of cause and effect is also clearly evident. If we lack responsibility, our work is likely to encounter problems. If we don't hone our skills, our opportunities for advancement will be limited. Understanding this, we no longer complain about others receiving preferential treatment. We focus on improving our abilities and work attitude. This change gradually brings positive results. Understanding cause and effect also helps us to be more patient. Some efforts don't yield immediate results. Without understanding this principle, we easily become discouraged and give up. But knowing that every action takes time to bear fruit, we will continue sowing good seeds without rushing. Perseverance is an expression of faith in the laws of nature. Another important aspect is how we confront past mistakes. Understanding cause and effect doesn't make us pessimistic. Instead, it helps us believe we can create better causes. Even if we acted immaturely in the past, the present is still an opportunity to make amends. Every kind thought and every good deed today contributes to mitigating past consequences. Resentment weighs heavily on the soul. When we keep repeating the question, "Why me?" we trap ourselves in a vicious cycle. But when we shift to asking what we need to do to change, our minds open up to new possibilities. This shift brings a greater sense of initiative and peace. Understanding cause and effect also helps us reduce envy. When we see others succeed instead of assuming they are lucky, we understand that behind it are the efforts and good deeds they have sown. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we focus on building our own path. This focus helps us progress step by step. Self-improvement is not an easy process. It requires honesty and courage. We need to dare to acknowledge our weaknesses without trying to justify them. But it is this honesty that forms the foundation for lasting change. When we truly want to improve, we will seek ways to adjust instead of finding excuses to procrastinate. The law of cause and effect also reminds us to be cautious in every small choice. A thoughtless word can cause lasting harm. A hasty decision can lead to unpredictable consequences. When we are aware of this, we slow down and consider things more carefully. This caution does not take away our freedom, but helps us avoid many mistakes. Gradually, as we become accustomed to turning inward and correcting ourselves, our souls will feel lighter. We will no longer be consumed by negative emotions for too long. Whenever we encounter difficulties, we see them as opportunities to reflect and adjust. Instead of complaining, we learn to be grateful for the lessons hidden within the challenges. When we understand the law of cause and effect, we no longer harbor resentment, but instead turn inward to correct ourselves. This understanding not only changes how we see the world, but also changes our own lives. Because when we choose to sow good seeds every day, however small, we are building our future with our present actions. And in that journey, we will realize that peace does not come from everything always going smoothly, but from living responsibly and consciously with each of our choices. Turning 50 isn't the end, but a special milestone for reflection. At this stage, we often have enough experience to understand ourselves better. Successes or failures, strong or strained relationships, stable or declining health all reflect, to some extent, what we've sown in the years before. This isn't a time for regret, but an opportunity for contemplation and adjustment. The first 50 years of life may have been filled with busyness. We worried about our families, strived in our work, and pursued personal goals. Some decisions were right, but others left us with regrets. Looking back, we can clearly see the connection between cause and effect. This understanding helps us to blame circumstances less and resent others less. Instead, we realize that we always have a role to play in our own story. After age 50, the most valuable thing is not achievements, but inner peace. If you realize that in the past you were hot-tempered, competitive, or lacked concern for loved ones, you still have a chance to change. It's never too late for anyone to start over with a more virtuous attitude. Every gentler word, every kinder action is a new seed being sown. Living a virtuous life doesn't require anything grand. You could be listening more to your children and grandchildren, being tolerant of differences within the family, or maintaining honesty at work. Maintaining inner peace isn't about avoiding difficulties, but about learning to face challenges with composure. When the mind is no longer consumed by resentment and rivalry, you'll experience a noticeable sense of relief. The law of cause and effect is impartial. It silently operates through each person's thoughts and actions. Understanding this, we will appreciate the present and be more cautious in our choices. Regardless of the past, today is an opportunity for transformation. Each day lived consciously is a step towards peace. The age of 50 is not the end, but the time when you can most clearly see what you have sown. If you recognize what has not been good, start transforming it today by living virtuously and maintaining peace of mind. If you believe that karma is the fairest law of life, please share this video so that many others can contemplate it.